Miatas at the Gap, huh?
So this will be my first time ever driving an Exocet. Jesus.
At 405 wheel torque.
Okay, this thing is freaking fast.
1, 2, 3, jump!
This is actually a supercharged example of the ND. Obviously, I'm a little outpowered and outgripped by the NC, but we're gonna see what we can do.
So after almost 7 years of Miata ownership, I finally was able to make it to Miatas at the Gap, which for those of you who don't know, is a very large event. 734 cars registered this year, and it takes place in North Carolina / Tennessee around the base of a road called the Tail of the Dragon. 318 turns in 11 miles, aka Miata heaven. Now let me just throw a little disclaimer out there. I did not intend on doing a full featured video about Miatas at the Gap for several reasons. Number one, just not being familiar with the event, not even knowing what I would want to film. Being awake for 40 hours, getting there, and being super jet lagged and getting up really early every morning. And I just really mostly want to enjoy the event. But that being said, of course I did bring all my gear and I was able to film some stuff for you guys, including driving and riding in a couple really cool cars. So come with me and let's rewind this bad boy about a week and we'll touch down in Alcoa, Tennessee. What's going on, everybody? It's ya boy, Greg Peters, Miata Dad, and whoa, I'm like the same color as the wall. Can you guys see me? Anyways, I just landed here at the Knoxville International Airport. You probably can't hear me because my plane is still just screaming over there, idling. But I'm here for Miatas at the Gap, and I'm just gonna chill here until my Uber gets here. I'm getting a new Uber service that you guys have probably not heard of before called Uber Race. That's all I can really say for now, and I'll just show you more when it gets here. There she is, boys, Uber Race. Here to take us to the Airbnb, courtesy of Fab9 Tuning. So as you guys can see there, I had a little bit of a special Uber, and that would be Fab9 Tuning. And I have to give a massive shout out to Brian and the whole Fab9 Tuning crew for being pretty much the only reason I was able to go this year. Now I was planning it all out in advance, and then eventually I just sort of ran out of time, couldn't find a place to stay, blah blah blah. Out of the blue, Brian messages me and says, come to Miatas at the Gap. And I'm like, I couldn't find a place to stay, whatever. He's like, stay with us and I have an extra car you can drive. Booked my flight the same day. That's how it went. So huge shout out to them for being my hosts and making it possible for me to go and enjoy this event. So let's fast forward to day one of the event, Friday, and the first thing I do in the morning is I meet a gentleman named RJ, and RJ throws me the keys to his Exomotive Exocet. Side note, RJ drove his Exocet 650 miles through rainstorms from Florida to make this event. Dude is an absolute trooper, and I could not have been more excited to drive this car. So RJ, thank you for this opportunity. Roll the footage.
All right, so this will be my first time ever driving an Exocet. I've purposely stayed away from them because I think I'm gonna wanna buy one. So this might be the end for me. I just have my one camera, so we're just gonna do a little onboard, and then I'll talk about it after the drive. This is all wind noise anyways, I don't really feel bad talking over it. So the Exocet was awesome. The basic specs are, it had a stock VVT engine, so about 120 horsepower at the wheels, and the car weighed 1,470 pounds. It was respectably quick for having a stock engine, and the brakes felt really nice and had a lot of grip. It was on a 225 Hankook RS4, nice aggressive street tire. The biggest critique that I have, though, is, in my opinion, the suspension was considerably too stiff, at least for driving mountain roads. And what that translated to is, I just didn't really feel that comfortable driving it. It's much harder for me to push hard on something with such stiff suspension. In fact, you can see the tops of the tires here as we're going over bumps and going through the corners, barely even moving. And I believe RJ mentioned that the suspension on his Exocet was from a Miata, and you know, something being pretty much 1,000 pounds lighter should probably have something a little softer on it. Now, if I drove this car all day, maybe I'd be able to get used to it. I'd feel better in it. But as you'll see, some of the cars later in the video that I drive that have quite a bit more power, I was much more comfortable in really cooking through some of these corners. But other than that, awesome experience being able to drive one of these things.
Highlight number 2 from Friday would be getting to meet a gentleman named Mark from a company called 3-Spoke Garage. Now, 3-Spoke Garage was actually sharing the booth with Fab9 Tuning, so I got to spend pretty much the entire weekend with them. What these guys do is import rare steering wheels, like lots of gnarly stuff. They refurbish them. I actually have to browse their stuff and pick something out for the Miata because they had some really cool stuff there. So anyways, Mark from 3-Spoke Garage said, dude, have you driven the Dragon yet? I was kind of avoiding it. People were saying it's like 30 to 40 minutes to the top and back. I didn't really want to do that all day because I would have got worn out. But he said, you got to drive it at least once. My car's available. You can take it anytime you want. So we took his car out, and Mark's car, I would say, is pretty much perfect for the Dragon. It's a stock 1.6, but it's got some nice track pads. It's got Zeta coilovers, a roll bar, and no fear for the rev limiter. In fact, it really made me miss when my car was a completely stock 1.6 and you could just go matted through like full sections of corners. I had so much fun. I could not have picked a better car. People are gonna say, oh, you wanna drive something boosted, whatever. No. The stock 1.6 was perfect. You just plant your foot, second gear, almost the entire road, and it was great. So thanks, Mark. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage. I know I dishonor my family. I am so sorry. I almost wanted to take the car again just so I could get a little footage from the Dragon itself, but I missed out on that one. But there's more. One of the cars Fab9 Tuning brought along for the funds was their NC, and this is not your grandma's NC. Let me rattle off a couple stats to you there, buddy. 275 drag radials out back, 400 foot-pounds of torque, Ford Fusion 2.5 liter swap, fully built, EFR 7163. This car was awesome. It made me a little bit sad about my build because I really centered my build around spool up, and this NC had two steps larger turbo on it, and it spools at least 800 RPM faster than mine. It really made me want to build an NC, but we'll possibly talk about that in an upcoming video. Anyways, here's a little bit of footage from the Fab9 Tuning Miata NC. Alright, so we are currently in the Fab9 Tuning NC, and Brian, let me know if I get any of this wrong, but it's a 2.5 liter swapped NC, built motor, built bottom end?
Yeah, built bottom end, real basic. Piston, mold air rods.
And it's got an EFR 7163 on it,
Yep.
which is basically 2 steps bigger than the one I have on my Miata, and I believe over 400 wheel torque.
Yeah, 405 wheel torque, 368 horsepower.
Alright, so he told me it's on full bore right now, so I'm gonna slam down a little second gear and just kind of see how the car wants to act. It was not turned up that much the last time I drove it.
No.
And so this is my first time driving a turbocharged NC. I drove it a little bit yesterday, but we're taking it on a nice twisty road, and after 2.5 minutes I'm already planning an NC build. I just want to address right now, everybody hates on NCs and they say they're boats. I'm assuming most of those people have not driven an NC. sharpest corners we got, and easily in third gear, just a complete boatload of torque, not to add to the meme. Okay.
Don't cross the double line, guys.
Canyon 101. Never cross the double yellow. That guy was clearly trying to keep up with the Miata. That was another mistake. Someone is yelling something.
Yeah, that's right.
So the last car on the list that I got to drive, and certainly not least, in fact I actually put by far the most miles on this car, is the Fab 9 Tuning ND. Now this is not any sort of crazy build. I want to say it just had sway bars, maybe a little bit wider tire on it, and it was supercharged with an axle back exhaust. I believe Brian said it was making just under 220 wheel horsepower. Now let me tell you guys something about the ND. The ND to me felt like it had the spirit of the NA. You get in, you're flying through the mountain roads, and it's just like, is that all you got or what? You gonna push it a little harder? I loved this car. I loved it so much, it made me think about possibly wanting to build an ND. But we'll get into that possibly in a future video. Anyways, here's some footage from driving the Fab 9 Tuning ND. All right, we are currently in the Fab 9 Tuning ND Miata. And being Fab 9 Tuning, of course, you know this thing is far from stock, as you might have guessed by the Fab 9 Tuning display. This is actually a supercharged example of the ND, and from the driving I've done so far, I will say that this car is perfect. The way I describe the ND is it's legitimately like an NA on steroids. Everything that people love about the NA, this car does. There's Brian, and there's a pickup truck. We're hoping he is going to cordially let us by. Obviously, I'm a little outpowered and outgripped by the NC, but we're gonna see what we can do. feel so confident driving this car. It's just very user-friendly, very forgiving. The brakes feel awesome. Everything's just awesome. Mazda did a really good job with this car. The only thing it needed was a little extra power. Now this car's putting down almost 220 wheel horsepower. Which I think is honestly, especially for this type of driving, it's perfect. Supercharger's got such good low RPM torque compared to a stock motor. Alright, so I'm leading now, which is a little bit more scary, but it's nice and dry in this section. So that was obviously super fun, and I can't thank Brian and Fab9 enough for graciously letting me pilot both of their cars over the weekend. I had so much fun. Now, I did get to go for a ride in a car that you could say it's been a long time coming. This is my friend John's car. Now, John has a Miata NB, and he's got a Honda K-Series in it, and it's got a pretty large turbocharger on it. Well, large enough to make 523 wheel horsepower. So riding in this thing, I was avoiding it for a while because I'm a little bit intimidated by this car. And I finally said, you know what? Let's take this thing out. I'm down to go for a ride. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna do like a nice little, maybe a little mellow run. I look in my passenger rear view mirror, and there's like 6 other K Miatas behind us. And then leading is a spec Miata driven by a spec Miata driver, and we just took this thing for an absolute rip, and that was awesome too. Check out the clips from this. So, my Miata children, if you are contemplating going to Miatas at the Gap someday, don't wait any longer. Make it happen 2020. I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10 stars. Super, super awesome. I got to meet so many of you guys out there, including, forgot to mention this, I met Tom of Tom's Turbo Garage. He had Project Thunderbolt out there, the Corvette LS swapped Mazda Speed Miata. That was awesome to see in person. I've been following Tom's channel since he had, what did he call it? Sunflower? The yellow turbo Miata, even before I put a turbo on my car. So that was really cool to meet him and so many others. A bunch of vendors and gosh, I think about it every day, just like recapping the trip in my mind. So I hope you guys did enjoy these few clips and snippets I was able to get from the weekend. And I will see you guys in the next video in about a week. Peace out.
Alright, you guys are not going to believe this, but I've been kind of doing a little discovering here in Maryville, Tennessee while I wait for my Uber race to show up. And I did a little discovering in this park that I found, and then I went to this pizza and pizza. It was a brewery. Yeah, it's a pizza brewery. So I went to this pizza brewery, and they're like shooting some kind of TV, something or other, and I find out that they are shooting a cooking show about spicy food, which I love spicy food in case you didn't know. And then I end up in the show. Now, don't get too hype. It was just my shoulder, okay? They asked if I could use my shoulder. They're like, okay, we're just gonna, if it's cool with you, we're just gonna put your shoulder in the shot. You can just like take a sip of your beer, get a piece of your pizza, whatever. But they said my shoulder was great. So if it actually comes out on TV, I'm gonna be posting it on Instagram at the Thecarpassionchannel. You guys make sure to check it out.